Good afternoon, villagers. It's Arnie with Pepper Tree Villa. It's time for the Daily Dose of Disney. Hope you're all doing well. I wouldn't have you any other way, Doug. Are you talking about his veal hands, Pam? Sorry, that was an easy one. Hope you're having a great day. It's been actually a nice day at work, actually. Pretty quiet. The mailbox was empty today. I think it's too early. Yeah, our mailbox has been empty pretty much a lot lately. Hi, Samantha. How are you? Mike Wheeler, Dances with Goofy, Disney World Freak, Carlos, great to see you here. Hello. Everyone, welcome to the stream. Thank you for being here. It is January 21st. Hello, Kay Atwood. Thank you for joining. Oh my goodness, it's great to see everyone here. Mama Mouse, hello, how are you? Oh my goodness, I didn't even get my USPS until, wow, goodness, that's not good. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the news. There's a lot to talk about today. January 21st. It's January 21st, 1930. Now, Walt is in New York City on this day, and he's having a problem with a gentleman by the name of Pat Powers. That's a film distributor for the Mickey Mouse cartoons. So Walt is having a problem because he's not paying royalties that are due to him. So he goes to New York to try and get to the bottom of this. In the meantime, while Walt is in New York, Walt's #1 animator, Ub Iwerks, tells Roy, Walt's brother, that he wants to leave the company as soon as possible. So Roy was stunned by it, but he gives him $5,000, which is at that point a 20% share of the company. So he gives the money. But the thing is that Roy did not know this at the time, but it was in fact Ub Iwerks was being lured away by Pat Powers, the guy who is the film distributor that Walt is having the disagreement with. So he wants him to start, Powers wants to start an animation studio to compete with Walt Disney. It was not very pretty. Not pretty at all. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot there about how cold it is in Florida. It is in the 40s there, I understand. That is really too cold. Here it's actually reached the 50s today. Yeah, that guy is evil. Pat Powers was an awful, nasty individual. Just really evil. So let's move forward 5 years. January 21st, 1935. Ollie Johnston was hired on this day at the Disney studio. He starts his job at $17 a week. He starts as an in-betweener, and eventually he goes on to become one of Walt's 9 old men, as one of the influencers in the world of animation. He and Frank Thomas turned out to have a fantastic friendship. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. Ollie Johnston started on this day, 1935. And in 1938, the animators began work on The Sorcerer's Apprentice for Fantasia. Now, I did a little digging on this one. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is actually it's based on a poem by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Now, Doug is familiar with that name because it's a street that he used to live on years and years ago. But everyone there called it Goethe. But yeah, his name was Johann Goethe. And then Paul Dukas wrote the orchestral score to mimic the poem or to do some tone painting. And it turns out that this poem was popularized in the world. Geez, wonder if that's German. Yeah, Goethe? Yes, it is German. Definitely German. You are right, Mama Mouse. Wolfgang von Goethe. What was that? Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Yes, definitely German. So Paul Dukas wrote the orchestral score for The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and this movie alone, this little segment with Mickey Mouse, made that poem famous. It was a worldwide phenomenon. Everyone had to read that poem. Everyone knew the music. It made The Sorcerer's Apprentice famous. Let's move forward a bit. Now, I posted a picture of the Disneyland Hotel on my Instagram and Twitter today. I also did it for the thumbnail here, and that's because that is the item of the day. On this day in 1955, a formal announcement was made to the public, to the press nationwide, that a new hotel was going to be built in Anaheim, and that was across the street from Disneyland. It was the Disneyland Hotel. Now, the hotel was going to be developed by the Rather Corporation. Jack Rather was a friend of Walt's, and he fronted the cost for the hotel. And in exchange for building the hotel for Walt, because Walt couldn't afford to do it at that time, he was cash strapped as it was building Disneyland. So Jack went in, built the hotel, and had a 99-year lease for the name Disneyland Hotel. Walt gave him that. In 1955, it finally opened in October. It was supposed to open in August, but because of labor strikes, there were problems there. It didn't open until October 5th. And even when it did open, there were only 7 rooms ready that first day. Can you imagine? 7 rooms for the hotel. It ended up being 104 rooms that were quickly opened, but it started with just 7 rooms that day. Donna Jaworski, hello there. Thank you for joining. Interesting thing about this hotel, I'll get into that in a little bit because something else happened on this day. It was interesting. But let's move on to 1956. This happened at Tomorrowland in Disneyland. Something called the Dairy Bar opened. Now, I don't remember this, so I'm gonna do some research and find out a little bit more about this. But the Dairy Bar was sponsored by the American Dairy Association, and it opened in Disneyland on this day in 1956. It featured exhibits about farming techniques of the future and the prospect of flying milkmen delivering milk straight to the front door, and how happy, contented cows produce better milk. Now, it said that guests can enjoy an ice-cold glass of milk at the bar. Now, the thing is that there's this whole campaign about happy cows coming from California. I was wondering if it had something to do with that, but I kind of doubt it. But anyway, yes. Oh, Donna, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. But congratulations on winning the ornament. You guessed Ben's tree. That was fantastic. That was a wonderful guess. Yes, she does know her ornaments. And yes, we do have a kinship with Donna with more than just ornaments. It's a lot. Baking is there and an interest in crafts. We go deep there, Donna. I know we do. We have a lot in common, and I cannot wait to meet you in person so we can talk all about it. Let's see. 1977, on this day, a movie premiered in the theater. Okay, that's good, Donna. Thank you. I just got over my cold too. I mean, my voice is doing a lot better now, so. But on this day in 1977, a movie came out starring Barbara Harris and Jodie Foster, and it was the first Freaky Friday. Yep, Freaky Friday came out on this day in 1977. And an interesting thing, of course, that movie's been remade like 3 other times by Disney. I remember seeing the one with Lindsay Lohan back in, I think it was the 90s that one came out. Gosh, I cannot believe it's been that long since that movie was remade with that. And what was her name? Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, was the mother. So, yeah, we do. We definitely do. So anyway, back to the Disneyland Hotel. Hello, Cam's Corner and Keystone. Thank you for being here. 1989. The Walt Disney Company finally acquired the Rather Corporation on this day. Now, the reason why they wanted the Rather Corporation was because they owned the Disneyland Hotel. And the Rather Corporation refused to sell. Now, in 1984, even before Michael Eisner took over, or maybe it was after Michael Eisner took over, Jack Rather, he was not doing well. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you for confirming that. I thought that's what it was. So Jack Rather had been sick up to this point now in 1984, and his health just wasn't doing well. And that turned out to be a coup for Disney because they put in an offer for the Rather Company, and Jack said, yes, I will sell. Unfortunately, before all the paperwork could go through, Jack died. And then his wife, Bonita, one of the towers of the hotel was named Bonita after her as well. She refused to sell. So they kept arguing back and forth about this, and it took almost 5 years to confirm that the Walt Disney Company would then finally acquire the Rather Corporation. Now, when they got it, there were other things that were part of the acquisition, including the Queen Mary in Long Beach, the Spruce Goose as well that was there. It's a giant dome. People could go see a Howard Hughes plane that was built of wood, the Spruce Goose. Interesting thing also is that the Rather Corporation was in television production. They had produced the shows The Lone Ranger and Lassie. So they owned those as well. So when the Walt Disney Company acquired the Rather Corporation, they got access to The Lone Ranger and Lassie, but they didn't hold on to it. They just sold it off. The only thing they wanted was the Disneyland Hotel. So they sold everything else off, and then finally they were able to do what they wanted to with the hotel. So that was a lot happening with the Disneyland Hotel, and it took a lot to get that into their possession. That's right, there was a version with Shelley Long as well, and most recently, it just happened a couple years ago, there was another version. So yeah, there were 4 versions of Freaky Friday. In 1995, on January 21st, the movie Symbiosis in the Land was replaced with a movie starring Timon and Pumbaa and Simba, and it was The Circle of Life, an Environmental Fable. And this was in the Harvest Theater there in the land. That happened in 1995. Didn't take long after The Lion King premiered in 94 to get this movie in place. John Wayne did own Lassie for 24 hours. I did not know that. That's very interesting. I'll have to look into that one too. Okay, so that was in 1995. Also in 1995, now I have personal experience with this particular fact. Disneyland was starting their 40th anniversary. They made a big deal of it all year long. It was a big celebration for 40 years of adventures. They wanted to celebrate also the beginning, or rather the opening of the Indiana Jones adventure in Adventureland. So they made a big deal about it. Instead of being 40 years of magic, they called it 40 years of adventures. That was their tagline for that year. So when the 40th started, on this day, they started distributing trading cards. Now, I've shown those trading cards before on a live stream when we did show and tell. Those trading cards were distributed one a day for consecutive 40 days. So on this day, they started by distributing 1955. The way it worked is you would go to the front gate, show your pass or your ticket to get into the park, and they would hand you a piece of paper. That paper was then taken to another location, either on Main Street or in Critter Country, and I think in Fantasyland. There were 3 locations that were distributing the trading cards. So you would take this slip of paper and go and get your trading card. And you had to do this every day. Now, that made it very difficult because that happened to be a very wet winter. So a lot of people missed some of the cards because it was very difficult to get to Disneyland on some of those days. Fortunately for me, I was working less than a mile from Disneyland. So I would go in on my lunch break, get my card, and then, hello, Duke Family Chronicles, thank you for joining. And then after work, I would then meet up with Ben, and then we would get his card so that both of us, you know what? Strike that. Ben did not meet me. Only on the weekends did he meet me. That's because he lived too far from Disneyland. I had his pass, and I would go in on his passport because our pictures looked exactly the same. So I would be able to get his card for him too. So we got 2 sets, one at a time though, during that time. Then the interesting thing, Cynthia, Candy Mom, thank you for joining. Good to have you here. Then the thing is that another part of that promotion was that on the 41st day, they would give away the Indiana Jones adventure card for 1995. So that was 41 cards for the whole celebration. The interesting thing about this, though, is that Disney had produced whole packs of the cards. And I got a whole pack as well because I happened to be one of the first 5,000 guests that renewed their annual passport that year. And I got it in that time so that I was able to get a pack of cards. So I had one card collection that I collected one at a time during the day, and that remind me to message you about my book. Okay, I will do that, Cynthia. And then I got the whole pack. It was great. It was fantastic. Absolutely love those trading cards. They're amazing. Jennifer Levy, thank you for joining the stream. It's great to have you here. So that was in 1995. 1998, on this day, the original parking lot in front of Disneyland was closed permanently to everyone so that construction could begin on Disney's California Adventure. Sparkles, the Supreme Queen, thank you for joining. It is great to have you here. So at that point, almost all guests going to Disneyland, visiting the park that day, visiting from there, moving forward, would park in what is called the Mickey and Friends parking structure. So that was in 1998. That parking structure is still there. It houses over 10,000 cars. It has now more than just Mickey and Friends. They now have the Pixar Pals garage right next door. And you access the garage through the normal way of going through the Mickey and Friends structure, or there's a back way into the structure as well, so that it's easier to find if you're taking streets. But enough of that. Finally, in 2000, on this day, there was a problem at the Enchanted Tiki room. The entrance it'd been there for forever. The entrance since the 60s, and they had to tear it down because of rotting wood. They couldn't save it. So they, drinking sweetened iced coffee. That sounds amazing right now. Actually, some iced coffee sounds really good. So they had to replace the original entrance of the Enchanted Tiki room. It was removed on this day on January 21st, 2000. Excuse me. Okay, I'd like to thank some people here. One thing, all of you moderators out there, thank you so much for the job you do. Every stream, you are always so helpful. You drop our links, you keep the chat going, you engage everyone. Thank you so much for your help. I could not do this without you. I really, really love having you there. I'd also like to thank my support channels, D&G Explorers, Two Real Geeks, Rob Fuzz, and the Orlando Guy. Now, I want to zero in here on two people, Rob Fuzz and then also Dean of the Live Place. Dean is going to be going live tonight. He has a show going on at 9:30 tonight. It is called The Fifth Gate, and he's going to be there with Rob Fuzz and Jim of More Sunshine Please. The three of them are going to be discussing the theoretical fifth gate of Walt Disney World. And I guess they're going to be discussing the theme of the park tonight. I'm really looking forward to this stream. It sounds like it's going to be, yeah, exactly, Cynthia. It sounds like it's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to this one. And that's tonight, 9:30. Let's move forward. Let's move back a bit, though. Amy, AJC Magic TV, she goes on at 6:30. Oh, by the way, all these times are Eastern Standard Time. So 6:30, AJC Magic TV. At 7:30, we have More Sunshine Please. Jim of More Sunshine Please will be broadcasting at 7:30, doing his Disney talk and chat checks, as he constantly does. Oh, thank you so much for that one, Stacy. Yes, we do have a merchandise store. So if you want I want my PTV merch, just go there and check it out. Click on that link and check out the merchandise. We'd love to have you sport your PTV swag. And then at 8 o'clock, Mouse Talk is going to be on. They've got their show about Never Have I Ever. It's a Disney edition of Never Have I Ever. So that one's going to be interesting as well. I might not be able to make it in time for that one because I work and sometimes the commute is difficult. So I have a hard time with it, but I will do my best to get there for when I can. Oh, thank you, Sparkles. Arizona, definitely, no problem. Yeah, we had friends with Arizona last night. So if you missed our stream last night, PTV Live, we had guests on last night. We discussed, oh, that's right, Zip is going to be live at 6:30. Okay, thank you so much, Stacy. So that's a busy night. Zip at 6:30, More Sunshine Please at 7:30. We have Mouse Talk at 8, and then finally, oh, thank you so much, Stacy. That's R&R Adventures. Those are our friends, the Rogers. Victoria and Will were on our show last night. That was their channel, so she dropped the link for that. Thank you so much. And then finally, at 9:30 tonight, it is Dean of The Live Place with Jim of More Sunshine Please and Rob of Rob Fuzz. They're going to be on The Live Place tonight. That's The Live Place on YouTube. Stacy, yes, you did love their last name. I love it too, just like yours. So remember, they're going to be discussing the fifth gate. And again, thank you for going out there and watching us. Really appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, please hit that like button. Really appreciate that. That really does help me with the videos. Donna. So everyone, thank you so much for joining this edition of the Daily Dose of Disney. I've got to get back to my desk and finish off my work for the day. But in the meantime, everyone have a magical evening and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow with another edition of the Daily Dose of Disney. Good night, everyone.